All right. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Visibility Era. It's a special day because we essentially have the male versions of Lydia and I on the show with us today. We have Parker and Sam of Elevation Nation. Welcome.
We are so excited to be here. I'm honored that you think of us as the brothers of you two because you both are so impressive. And we just hit it off when we first met. And we're excited to be on your show and equally excited to have you on our show, Elevation Nation, coming up in a few weeks. So lots of elevating, lots of visibility to happen today. And it's an honor to be here with you both.
You guys got us at a good time. We're feeling extra elevated this week, so we're excited to break down why. So just thanks for having us. We're excited to be here.
You're so welcome. I'm just like laughing over here because we use the words. Well, there's so much crossover in our businesses and our personalities, I feel, but we use the word elevate all the time. We're talking about visibility and like how to elevate your brand. So we would love to hear how you guys came up with Elevation Nation. And if you want to just give us like the whole backstory of how this community came to be, because it's so amazing. And we got in touch with you through our community. So we know it's working and we know it's growing.
Well, I'll speak on behalf of Parker and myself on this one then. Elevation Nation was really born out of necessity. It wasn't like Parker and I had this big, grandiose idea to have a crazy cool business and do all that. It really just started. I was really depressed when I graduated, and we both had our real big time full-time jobs as big boys in the city. And we both were pretty miserable. And we started talking to other young adults and realizing that many of them who had recently graduated also felt lost and without visibility and not being seen. And we're really looking for something else and some purpose. And that's why Elevation Nation was born. It was Parker and I wanted to talk to other 20, 30, 40-year-olds who we thought had their lives figured out so we could figure out what that missing piece was for us. Now, we've certainly evolved. Fast forward over 4 years later, we now have our own podcast of over 300 episodes. We have 150 members of our nation, of our movement called Elevators. We do community events. We speak around the country to high school, college, and recent graduates to help them elevate their mindset and really just try to elevate our communities and ourselves and the people around us.
Just to add to that, I mean, so it was February 2020. Sam and I were kind of at like a decision point in our life at our job when he mentioned that we were both kind of depressed and miserable. And I was like, Sam, just like, young 24-year-olds do, guys. I was like, Sam, let's go to the beach and just figure out our life and just spend some time in my parents' beach condo in February, not go in the ocean. And we're going to just talk about life. And literally, what we did for 2 straight days was try to figure out how we can feel better. And when there's actually a picture of Sam literally mind mapping his life on my mom's sliding glass door. And it's an infamous picture that we use in all of our workshops. But it was that moment where we came up with this idea of Elevation Nation and the concept of mental fortitude. And so for the last 4 years with Elevation Nation, we've been on a mission to understand mental fortitude for ourselves and what inspires all these 150 plus elevators, what inspires mental fortitude in them. And we've learned a ton from all these people. But now, 4 years later, we're feeling elevated and ready to continue to elevate. And I can tell you those feelings of depression, like the loss of sight we had, sometimes they come back, but maybe a lot less than we were feeling back in 2020.
So cool. I mean, just
Really,
like on a personal note too, like Lydia and I connected in a manifestation Facebook group because we wanted to basically sit in meditation in the ethers and bring our physical
That's
reality,
awesome.
our dreams into physical reality. And we met in this group, and both of us just are interested personally in wellness. I've been teaching yoga for the last 8 years, like mental fortitude, mental fitness. This is like also our language. So I feel like there's just such crossover and such synergy. And I feel like Lydia wanted to say something too. So the
No,
floor is all yours.
that was so good. I just wanted to know what beach it was. I'm like, I'm curious.
We were down in Ocean City, not New Jersey, Ocean
Oh.
City, Maryland,
So
138th Street, right next to Fenwick Island.
Oh, that's beautiful. So for all of our listeners, all of us are, I'm from New Jersey, live in Delray Beach now. But Bridget's still in New Jersey and the guys are both kind of in the Northeast region. Would you call DC like, I guess, right? Yeah, I would call it that. I love this story so much because I think there's a lot of people that feel this way. We get out of college, we dive into our jobs, and even if it feels like it's supposed to be the fulfilling path, it doesn't always feel fulfilling. So I would love to hear from your words, like, what is what are you hearing from your audience members that's missing? Or maybe it's your personal story. What was missing for you? Because I don't necessarily always think that the answer is entrepreneurship. Like for us, it is, or creating a movement or something. For some people, it might just be that they're feeling lost because they forgot to, I don't know, do some things that make them happy during the day.
So it's a great question. And luckily, it's an answer that we both know and feel very passionate about. We did a lot of research and talked to a lot of young people and figured out what is the common thread that is making young people not feel visible, not feel seen, heard, valued. And what we determined was a lot of young people are missing a concept we call at Elevation Nation mental fortitude. And for us, mental fortitude is broken down into three key parts. It's knowing yourself, knowing your vision, and knowing your fuel. So getting introspective and deep with who you are at your core, not just what you like to do or what you're good at, but truly who you are at your core, your morals, your values, how you were raised, your blinders, your perspective, your POV, and your vision is where you want to go. Not necessarily, oh, I want this job, but how do you want to feel? What's that feeling? What's that experience that you're looking for? And then what fuels you, that's where it gets a little bit tough, is sometimes you have to have hard conversations with yourself. Why do I want those things? Is it money? That's okay. Is it fame? Is it power? Is it notoriety? Is it education? What are those things that truly fuel you and drive you to where you want to go? And so we work with young adults all across the country to help them figure out those three aspects of their own lives. And then we teach them how to use those to activate mental fortitude each and every day. And so we really think that that is the missing piece for young adults, and something we're on a mission to really help educate the next generation of leaders so that they also can activate mental fortitude in their lives.
It's so cool. I feel like I'm so glad there are people like you that exist that can bring this information to young adults, because we go through so many cycles in life, like so many seasons, so many ups and downs. And if we don't have the ability to ask ourselves those tough questions, like I think life gets really lifey then. And like you've now created a community of all these people. So like at what point were you guys thinking, all right, we have this idea, like it should be a podcast too? Like when did that as a medium come into your mind?
That's a great point, because I will say we went to the beach and we're like, all right, well, let's figure out life. But also, Sam, let's figure out how we can figure out life and then turn it into a business. But what we shortly learned was that our idea of mental fortitude, like, how do we turn that into a product? How do we turn that into a business? And so I will say, as shitty as COVID was, it came the next month in March. And Sam and I got a lot of free time on our hands from, let's say, March until October to work on what it would be that we would be putting together. And we were like, wait, okay, let's create this framework of mental fortitude. And I think the best way we should start this thing is start to hear from other people how they exercise or think about elevating their life and think about mental fortitude. And so that is where, like, okay, let's start with a podcast. It's easy. Sam and I both love to talk. We like to hang out. We like to meet new people. And probably doesn't cost a lot of money. It's probably easy to get started with. Anyone can do it. And so that's where we landed. 6 months later in October, we set out with our first episode. And that was the start of Elevation Nation, like truly like the launch. And to be honest with you, our goal at that point was meet really cool people, be able to speak more, which we did. We were meeting cool people and share their experiences with the world. And maybe that'll get us somewhere. And honestly, we had no idea it would take us 4 years down the road to where we are today.
Yeah, I love that you said that your mission, and obviously you guys have it down to a science, you literally do, but like that your mission was to meet cool people. Bridget and I use that exact term, so I'm just laughing. I'm like, guys, life's a beach, just meet cool people, it's fine. But I love that that was the starting point, because now that you have this business, there's so many people that you're inspiring from the get-go. So it's almost like you get to also benefit the outcome of what these individuals end up creating when they get inspired by Elevation Nation. So are there any fun stories where, like, you know, you met somebody and then you kind of have been with them on their journey, or maybe even yours, because it's just like, yeah, that's what I keep thinking about. It's like the outcomes of this.
There are so many. One of the things that's most incredible, to your point, Lydia, about just Elevation Nation as a whole, is we get to meet cool people, but we like to say it's a movement, right? We're starting this nation. It's not just come on the podcast and then you're done. Parker and I really do, I would say, a pretty good job of staying in touch with all these elevators because we're so invested in them, right? Because we get so vulnerable on our podcast, because we open up about the struggles that we've had as young males, I think it allows us to connect with people more than just entrepreneurship and making money in business. It's like, we're going to talk about life. We're going to get deep because sometimes things are tough. And so with that, we've made lifelong friends through Elevation Nation. One that comes to mind now, we actually just had them return to the podcast to share their story. We got introduced to two young women who were working full-time corporate jobs in New York City. And they had this idea at the time of COVID to create a yoga mat and a workout mat that, instead of rolling up and taking a ton of space, was foldable. Right. And so they had this idea. We got introduced to them. They came on the podcast and they were just talking about this idea. We're trying to figure it out. We don't really know what's going on. We're working on designs and procurement, and that's where we are. And we had a great conversation with them. Fast forward now, a few years later, they were on Shark Tank, and that was really cool. So we felt immense gratitude, and we were so proud of both of them with their success with their company, Stacked Mat, as they were able to go on Shark Tank, represent Elevation Nation a little bit, and strike up a deal on the show. So yeah, that's one example that comes to mind. There are countless others. It really does feel like Parker and I are, whether it's big brothers or little brothers, we're proud of all of these elevators that come on, and we get to support them throughout their journey, not just from a mindset coaching standpoint, a friendship standpoint, but Parker and I get to connect elevators to other elevators and have them come up with new business ideas and deals together. And that's what's really exciting for us, to see them grow.
That's so cool. We talk a lot about, well, first of all, why we love podcasts. And it's really because you get to actually know someone. A lot of the times, like, we focus on TV appearances and media, but podcasts will always have a place in our heart because it's that time where you get to let your guard down as maybe a business owner, or maybe you don't even have a business, but you get to just share your story. And it's like when we get to be a little bit more vulnerable and go to those places, we realize how much more connected we are. And I feel like we live in a world that shows us our differences before, like, all the ways that we're connected. Like, all four of us probably have so many other insane things in common. And I feel like podcasts are just, I don't know, I'm like team podcast. Should I like just wear podcast across my shirt? Hashtag podcast girl, like obsessed. It's just such a good medium.
Bridget, it's funny you say that. I like to say that I have a thought that every single person should have a podcast, because every single person has a story to tell. And the reason why people don't have podcasts, I'm not going to make money off this. I don't have a camera or a microphone or whatever. But that's really not about the whole idea of a podcast. The whole idea of a podcast is to share your story, share your thoughts on perspectives on the world. Everyone has thoughts and perspectives on the world. And regardless if one person listens to it or a million people listen to it, You're putting something into the world. That's art. That's value into the world. And, there's some episodes where Sam and I reach all these people, and there's others where we don't. But you know what? We're putting our thoughts and perspectives into the world. And what's even more incredible is we've created a platform to hear how other people are elevating their mental fortitude. And obviously, we're talking about a specific thing. But I mean, I'm with you, Bridget. Like, team podcast right here. I'll wear it on my shirt with you too.
We'll all get shirts. We're all going to get shirts that say hashtag podcasting, podcast lover. I'm just thinking about like the very first like I'm gonna age myself, but do you remember like AIM? We used to all have our screen names, and mine was Animal Lover, and then it was like Crazy Girly, So we'll just hashtag. Anyways, I'm going down a tangent, but
Mine was Soccer Sam P5. I'm right there with you, Lydia. You're good.
oh, thank you. Oh, Bridget says
Course.
Crazy
Ooh,
Bridge.
that's an intense
Wait, can you
one.
please explain this? What is TXX?
It was Crazy Bridget, but like how the
Crazy.
3 looks like an E, and then I also had Soccer Girl, but like with a U as the girl. So like we were cool.
Yeah, it's like whatever you liked was your screen name. It was like blank lover, crazy this.
Mine's
But
pretty bad, I will say.
oh, let's hear
It's
it.
as simple as it is. Mine is Play Sports 815. That's simple. Yeah. Don't mess with me. I play sports.
That's incredible. Oh man, whoever listens to this, please comment your screen names. Like I have to know everybody's. They're just so good. But going back to podcasting, so obviously we talk a lot about visibility. You are on Visibility Era, the podcast, and one of our favorite ways to tell our clients, and me even as a publicist pitching clients, because I still do that, is to pitch them to podcasts, because not only are you having another platform to share your business or share your products, but you're also able to share your journey, have a genuine conversation. People get to feel who you are. And we have shifted in such a way, thank God, really, over the past, I want to say 10 to 15 years, where people care about what they're buying. They don't want to just buy a product because it solves a problem like this. They want to, of course, solve a problem, but they also want to like who is behind the brand. I think that this also, with the age of content, it's just become so much more, and there's so much choice out there, that there's so much choice in joining communities. So I love that Elevation Nation has this entire, mission with having a community first, to sharing your stories, because not only are you creating a beautiful platform for this, but you're also creating a great way for the brands that come on your podcast to be able to share who they are, so others will jump on board with their business ideas too.
I love it. I think podcasts are, one of the most intimate ways you can make a connection with people. And in this day and age, you take podcasts into your most intimate places, right? Whether that's when you're lying in bed, whether that's on the toilet, whether that's on your commute, right? Like we are in your ears. And I think you're able to build this weird subconscious connection with people that are with you in your most intimate and private of places. Think about all of our favorite podcasts. Like they are my friends and I've never met them before, but I love them and I know their inside jokes and I get their cadence and I would recognize their voice or their face anywhere. And so I think podcasting allows you that intimate connection with people that many other mediums don't necessarily have.
Yeah, I agree. Bridget is about to be like, my first million, they're actually my best friends. Are you about to say that? Am I right?
I'm just cracking up because this morning I'm driving to the gym and I got to put a podcast on. So I put on My First Million and they just like are shooting the shit and they're just laughing and I'm laughing with them. And I'm like, am I not like listening to a radio show? Like, is this what radio used to be on someone's morning commute? And it really, really is. But like to your point, Sam, I really, really agree because it's like I know them. We're besties. They might be coming over for Sunday dinner in just a couple of weeks. Like we're that close. And I think it's cool. Like they also have created events and stuff like that. And I'd love to hear about the Elevation Nation events. Like how have you gotten some of those people to actually come and hang out with you in person?
Well, I mean, the in-person stuff is amazing because we get to hang out. That's where the true elevation happens. Sam and I did this podcast for 2.5 years without ever doing an in-person event. One being because we weren't really allowed to be in person because of COVID. And then the other piece was like, all right, let's just start meeting some of our elevators. Right. So there's a couple different types of events that we've done, right? So we have done dinners with other elevators where it's very intimate. We're catching up. We had one last night in New York City, and it was a ton of fun. And honestly, it was so much energy. It was a little overwhelming at times because like you have all these elevators, all these people who are just crushing it. I'm like, I got to hear what you're up to. I got to hear what you're up to. Oh, wait, shit, you guys should talk about this certain thing. Like the vibes were just so good and so energetic. But I think also the events that Sam and I do where we're running the show and we're putting on workshops and you can feel the energy in the room. We're helping people get a mental motto, which you guys will share on our podcast once you come on Elevation Nation. That is really fun too, because we're welcoming new people to the nation. They're not necessarily elevators who have joined the podcast, but we see them as elevators because now they have a new perspective, a new mindset, and they now have a glimpse into what Sam and I believe is mental fortitude. And those events are incredible. So, yesterday as well, we did a 90-minute workshop about elevating mental fortitude with 130 students from the New York City area. And then also, we had administrators, teachers, people who worked at our company as well join, and they're sharing their mottos. And those events are special and exciting. And so we hope to do more of those. We're going to do more Elevation Nation dinners. And Sam knows one day I want to eventually get an Elevation Nation retreat going and a summit. Like we're elevating's not, we're not stopping here. We're keep going.
Yeah, this is so awesome. I love this. And one thing that I do want to point out, because Bridget and I love the technical stuff too, is you guys are really good at branding. You're really good at branding. You're really good at dropping Elevation Nation. Here is our motto. Here's our formula. These are the elevators. So I would love to hear like how you came up with all of these terms. Was it on the beach? Like, what was the background in this? Because it's just,
I wonder what Sam's going to
cool.
say here, who he's giving credit to. I
You know
really,
exactly.
I know the answer here. I know the answer here, Sam.
So this is something crazy, and I'm glad Parker chimed in. Not only is Parker my best friend, but we've been doing this for a long time. So we could probably answer on each other's behalf. To Parker's point, he knows exactly what I'm about to say right now.
Wait. Should you write it down and I'm going to say it? Or
Sure. Yeah,
I think
like
that would be fun.
I like that.
Who came up
All right.
with mental fortitude,
It's easy.
elevator, Elevation Nation?
All
right.
You ready, Parker?
I'm going to look away, show the screen. Our dude, Rich Keller. He's the guy, the absolute beast. Did I get it right? Yeah.
You did. Yeah, you
obviously.
got it right.
Okay.
So I'll tell the story of Rich. We serendipitously met Rich. Parker and I had no idea what business we were building at the time. It was not called Elevation Nation. We were just lost in pitching some other concept. We saw this guy speak at a conference we went to, and he offered 30-minute sessions, free coaching, and we took him up on it. And so Parker and I were at his house, and we're chatting with this guy. He's got crazy energy. We have no idea who he is or what he's talking about. And all of a sudden, Parker's mom from up the stairs yells at him, Parker, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, sorry, that's Parker's mom, Paige, whatever. All of a sudden, the guy looks up at us and pauses. And he's like, is your mom Paige Putter? And Parker's like, how the heck do you know my mom? Long story short, this guy knew both Parker's mom and dad from college. He was a fraternity brother of Parker's dad. From that moment on, he was like, listen, everything, all my coaching, all free, done. You're working with me, like you're with us. And truly, when I say this guy has had one of the biggest impacts on my life besides my parents, we talk to him probably every week. He is quite possibly one of the most genius branding minds in the game to date. He worked in marketing and branding for 30 years, decided he wasn't finding fulfillment anymore, quit, and wanted to help young entrepreneurs build their brands. And we've been working with Rich Keller for over 4 years now. He helped us come up with Elevation Nation. He helped us learn how to overemphasize mental fortitude as our framework and as our tool. And if anyone out there is looking for branding beyond these two incredible women that we have on the podcast, he is certainly the guy that has impacted our lives the most and helped us learn branding and how to really emphasize our points.
Gosh, I love that because even doing what we're doing, we have pieces in our programs where we tell you to look at your branding. We call it brand positioning, but it's calling out a lot of these like value points of like, what do you call yourself? How do you differentiate yourself from others? How do you basically stand out in your market? And it's pieces like that that are so, so important because they're going to remember you for it. It's going to add authority. So I love that. Rich, you may be getting a knock on your door.
Rich should come on the show. Like, we need
He should
him.
come on the show.
I thought the same
Oh,
thing that
you
you
should
thought,
have
Lydia.
Rich on your show. We're volunteering.
We
Rich.
can make that connection.
Yeah, we're
Easy.
volunteering Rich.
Let's go. Let's go. I thought the same thing as Lydia too. I'm like, damn, they like really know how to talk about what they're doing. But it's a serious thing. And a lot of the entrepreneurs that come into our world, many of them don't know how to talk about their work, because when you're so connected to what you're doing, it's really hard to take the outside perspective and say like, what is this and how can I talk about this in a way that makes sense to everyone else and that they're going to remember? So you guys talking about mental fortitude, you guys talking about your framework, I was like, damn, this is really good. Like, I'm sure that's the structure for your workshops. Like, everything is just really, really simple. You know it like the back of your hand, whatever that joke is or whatever that saying is. And then you get to go on podcast and like, you guys are so natural at interviews, likely because you've done, hundreds of podcasts yourself, but it really, really shows. Gosh, I'm just like obsessed with you guys. That's all that's
I
happening.
wish you guys could come to a workshop of ours because there's even more branding. We have stickers. Everyone's getting a motto. There's workbooks involved. There's questions. It's fun. It's engaging. And, at points, there are points of branding. I think it's a little corny or a little cheesy. And Sam, you know what? At times we think of ourselves as motivational speakers too. You got to be cheesy with that, right? And I don't want to ruin any elements of surprise with the workshop, but you guys will just have to come to one day.
Oh, we're coming to the next workshop. Literally just let me know, I'll fly up. But I'm not kidding, I will fly up. My boyfriend is a flight attendant, so I have special benefits. I know. I don't want to brag, but that's a thing
pretty
that's
great.
real. Yeah. In terms of branding and that, I think it's really important to come up with branding pieces and to be a little cheesy sometimes because as you guys were talking, I just was flown back to, speaking of flown back to when I was like, I think like a junior in high school. And I remember they hired a motivational speaker for the day. And I was like, this is stupid. When you're that age, you're just like, I'd rather be like doing literally anything else. And you're in your like cranky teen phase. We went across the street to this like auditorium building. It was supposed to be a whole thing. I remember by the end of that day, I felt like a new person. That guy was my freaking hero. I don't remember his name. I remember what he looks like, but honestly, if he was walking around in Whole Foods, I probably wouldn't recognize him. But he made such an impact on my life because just at that age, you don't think that things are possible, or you don't think that others are feeling the same way. So when you guys go to these types of events, like what are the kinds of maybe questions you ask the kids or the students? I guess they're not kids, they're young adults, but like what kind of questions do you ask them and what kind of things do they tell you? Do they tell you similar stuff? Like, I didn't know others were feeling this way.
So, some are kids, right? We talk to high school students, college kids, and then, of course, recent graduates. I'll tell just a quick anecdote because I think that paints a perfect picture. Parker and I got asked to speak at a high school in North Philadelphia. Most of these students were actually between the ages of 19 and 23. They had dropped out of high school in the Philadelphia public school system for one reason or another, whether that was gang violence, pregnancies, illnesses, and they decided that they wanted to come back. And this incredible charter school nonprofit allows these students to come back and get their high school diplomas. And so all there by choice, but certainly kids that have had rougher backgrounds. And I will never forget, Parker and I went in and we did our mental motto workshop with them. And afterwards, a couple of the students came up to us, gave us hugs, and started crying. And I remember one kid that was talking to Parker and I, and he said, as a young Black male, no one ever told me that I was allowed to have these emotions, or told me that I was allowed to be vulnerable, or told me that it was okay to be introspective. Thank you guys for walking us through that. And so those are some of the moments that stick out for me. Of course, it's great. We get to meet cool people through the podcast. We get the DM every now and then, some of them hitting on Parker, but those are the impactful moments for me that I think really stand out. And it's really why we keep on doing this.
I just want to add a short piece to this is if you come on our podcast, you listen to our podcast, Sam and I from day one, episode one, we're about to hit episode 300. We get vulnerable because life is real and you can't cut the bullshit out. And mental fortitude is all about cutting the bullshit out and getting real with yourself, getting real with where you want to go, and getting real with what you're inspired by. And in our workshops, we get real up front. We show our audience that we are human. I mean, Sam had a great piece yesterday where he was talking something that he's going through very real. We get very vulnerable up front. And that already creates the environment that the audience is allowed to get real too. And that this is more than just another cookie cutter speech. And from there, we ask a lot of deep and introspective questions. Some people get deeper than others. But at the end, when we bring it all together, people realize, wow, okay, I can use my mental fortitude now. I can use my mental motto to help me through not only the good times, but more importantly, the shitty times, and that you can get through it. You just need a little bit of guidance, and that guidance comes from you at the end of the day.
Parker, that was so good. Thank you. And Sam, actually, I was like, funny you brought this up. So Sam, you posted the other day on your Instagram that you were having some alopecia happen on your beard. Yeah, I see your little spots.
My little spots, I know, brutal.
Yeah. I think that it looks great on you. But
Thank you. Can I say one funny thing on that point?
Yeah, go
Just
for
real
it.
quick.
Yeah.
So yesterday we spoke to a bunch of high school kids. One of the teachers comes up to me after the recording and goes, "Thank you for opening up about your alopecia. When you came in here, I actually thought that was a new young hip style that you were doing." I was like, "Nah, definitely not." But thank you.
Well, there was like a period of time, I don't know if this is a new hip thing, but do you remember everyone was like shaving lines in their eyebrows and
Or
like
their
That's
head.
literally what
Yeah,
she
like,
said. She's like, "I thought that was the new thing that like the
oh my
TikTokers
God.
were doing," and I was like, "Nah, bro. Like this is brutal."
watch you low key start a trend and nobody knows. Everyone's like thinking that it's a cool trend. Sam, you're just a trendsetter. But
Yeah.
I saw that on Instagram and I made a point to comment on it. And it was like, how do I comment on this? Like, thanks for sharing about your alopecia. But like, I really did appreciate that because I think sometimes we are going through health struggles. Like Bridget and I both actually, how we met and in that manifestation Facebook group, we both actually started going there because we were going through health challenges and we were going through life challenges and we were just like, what the heck is happening? And we truly believe that there is a mind-body connection. And sometimes when we're experiencing physical things, it's not just a physical, it could be an emotional, it could be, you might have some life imbalances that happen. And so I think that these things are really, really important to talk about. So thank you for posting that. Thank you.
You're so welcome. And thank you for thanking me. I mean, it's silly because at the end of the day, like this doesn't matter. Like it's cosmetic. Like I don't really care. And I'm certainly not looking for sympathy on it. But I think the more people feel comfortable about being vulnerable, whether it's a health issue you're going through, a struggle at work, a relationship problem, I think what we're just trying to do at Elevation Nation, especially as two young males, men are usually a little bit more reserved in their emotions. And so Parker and I just want to make it not only acceptable, but cool. Like, I think it's cool that Parker and I get deep. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I get to have cool, deep conversations. Why do I want to be shallow or materialistic my whole life? So that's our goal right there. And if talking about my spots helps, then I'm happy to do that.
I always hated that question. Like, how's the weather? When people talk about the weather, I'm like, I know it's a shared experience, but like, it's boring. I'm like, who are you really? And like, why are you the way you are in your life? Like, we want to know those deeper things. So, yeah, I appreciate everything you guys are doing. And think as we close out today, I'd love to hear what are some of the, like, where do you want to take this? Where do you see it going? What are some of those like big dreams? Let's go like all potentials.
Man, Sam and I are in a never ending elevator. It's just going literally past the moon to wherever. We really do believe the world can use mental fortitude. Everyone has it within themselves. It's just they got to find it for themselves at that moment in time. And so Sam and I want to continue with our podcast. We're booked for months. We want to continue to meet amazing, exceptional young adults who are elevating themselves and others every single day. Sam and I want to continue to speak across the world at high schools, colleges. We want to speak in corporations and spread our message of mental fortitude to others. We think the whole world should have a mental motto. Sam and I have a goal of having 1 million mental mottos from 1 million people. And to be honest with you, we can hit 1 million and we can keep going. I think we genuinely believe in that. On top of that, Sam and I want to find ways to help our elevators win more by connecting them to other elevators. Because when 2 elevators work together, that's a whole lot of elevation. So that's something that Sam and I are focused on right now, too. And I'm not kidding. I think one day Sam and I could be doing retreats of Elevation Nation. We could be doing summits. We could be, I don't even know. Who knows? We've done apparel, we've done this, we've done that, but I think we're just getting started, which is fun. And we're on year 4. A year ago, honestly, when we first started, if you told me year 4, I'd be like, oh my God, it's so far down the road. No, we're just getting started right now. Just saying that. I mean, that's what it's all about.
Yeah. Gosh, that's so good. Okay. Thank you guys for being on the show today. It's been so much fun. We are coming to your next retreat or the retreat. We're ready for it. So while we close out, can you please just share where everybody can find you, where they can buy their Elevation Nation merch? And can you go through Mental Fortitude one more time? I'd love to just hear the framework for everybody who's listening.
Absolutely. So let me start with the framework. Mental fortitude, we at Elevation Nation believe, is the missing piece for young adults that they need to conquer the real world. And so mental fortitude has 3 parts: yourself, your vision, and your fuel. Who you are at your core, where you want to go, and what truly inspires you. And with that, when you join Elevation Nation and join our movement, and you both are about to join our podcast and do this yourselves, every single person in the nation has what we call a mental motto. It's what mental fortitude helps you get to. And it's what we taught to over 200 high school students yesterday. We helped all of them develop their mental mottos. So Parker's mental motto, to speak for him, is proud to be. And my mental motto is live curiously, don't curiously live. So those are really important. Those are true to us. No pressure, ladies. But when you come on our podcast, you're going to need mental mottos. So get prepping on them. Where you can find us, elevationnation.io, or on social media at elevationnation_IO. Reach out to us on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok. I am Sam Panich, and that is Parker Yablon. Thank you both for having us. It's such an honor.
Thank you guys. And thank you everybody for listening to another episode of Visibility Era, the podcast.